a second most populous country. India and Bharat are both official names and derives from Indus River used by Greek. India is a civilization grow up in the Indus Valley 2500 BC. In India, there are three main topographic regions. The first one is the Himalayan mountain, and the second is the northern plain. The third one is the peninsular India. In India, there are more than 200 languages are spoken. I'm gonna show you the four major languages. The first is Indo. Indo is the Arab branch of the Indo by the European group. The second one is the Dravidian. The Dravidian is a language group. And the third one is Hindi. Hindi is the fourth most widely spoken language in the world. And the last one is the Indu. Indu is the Aryan language. The earliest Indian literature took the form of the canonical Hindu Sanskrit writings, known as the Veda, which were written in Sanskrit. So, the oldest Sanskrit literature is found in the four Vedas. The four Vedas is Rig Veda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, and the Yajur Veda. Indian literature, already fully developed over 3,000 years ago, is rich in spiritual and imaginative values. Indian culture also had a scientific bent. Indian gave the world trigonometry, the first grammar books, the first study of phonetics, the study of speech, sounds, and the game of the chess. In some years, India film industry is centered in Mumbai or Mumbai, thus earning the entire movie-making industry in honor of Hollywood in US counterpart and make more feature-length films than any other country in the world.
I'm discussing now the characteristics of Indian literature. There are 9 characteristics of Indian literature. 1 is religion, 2 is deeds, 3 is human values, 4 is obedience, 5 is bravery, 6 is love, 7 is morality, 8 is poetic form, and 9 is the other literature. The first one is religion. Based on the anxiety history of India dominated by Brahmins, the upper educated ruling priestly class, religion, spirituality was the primary concern. Attaining heaven, mukti, and reincarnation are the two main focus of Hinduism. Charity dana is the concept that emphasized in the Vedas to attain heaven according to the doctrine of karma. Second one is deeds. Deeds of the past determine the state of the present is the concept of reincarnation. If noble deeds are done in the past, noble birth in the present is assured. Ramayana is the story of Ram, the reincarnation of Lord Vishnu. The next one is human values. Human values are also a characteristics of Indian literature within the broader web of religion. Obedience to the one above, to keep up the words spoken, not breaking promises at any cost. Bravery in war are the important values imparted through the sacred books and epics. Next is obedience. Obedience to the above, it can mean a person in power or an elder person. As in Ramayana, Ram obeyed his father Dasharatha when asked to go into exile, and Hanuman, an ape hero, obeys Sugriva, the ape kingdom. Immediately when he was asked to go in search of Sita, Rama's wife. Keeping up promises at any cost is seen in Ramayana, where Kaikeyi, one of the true wives of Dasharatha, gets 2 promises according to which she wants Rama to be sent in exile and her son Bharata to be crowned as a king. which the king fulfills, and drama. The first legal son to be crowned is sent in exile, and Bharata is asked to be crowned even at the cost of his life. Next is bravery. Bravery in war front is seen in both Ramayana and Mahabharata, which involves the two great epic wars, the Ramayana War and the Mahabharata War. Battle at the Kurukshetra where the army of both parties, Rama and Ravana in Ramayana, and Pandavas and Kauravas in Mahabharata, fight bravely for victory. Next is love. Love is the one of the major characteristics focused on Indian literature. All forms of love as parental love, Janaka, king of Mithila, made him accept Sita, found in furrow of the field, as his daughter, and Dasharta dies after Rama is sent to exile. Marital love in Sita that she accompanied her husband Rama into exile. Love of brothers, the Lakshmana that he accompanied Rama into exile, and in Bharata that he rejected the crown, and love of friends in Karna that he stands by Kauravas against his own brothers are included. Next is morality. Virtue rewarded and vice punished is the justice done according to Dharma, which is characteristics of Indian literature. Ravana and Kauravas, vices of Ramayana and Mahabharata, were defeated in war and were killed. Indian literature reflects the caste system existed during the period. It is according to Vedas, people are divided into four varna based on their profession. Brahmins that includes priests and learned men, Kshatriyas that includes aristocrats, knights, soldiers, and other administrators, Vaishya that include peasants and businessmen, and Shudras, who were employed in other menial labors. This caste system is employed in the two epics Ramayana and Mahabharata. Next is poetic form. The poetic form was considered as the standard written form in ancient India. That Indian literature was in verses. Ramayana has 24,000 verses and Mahabharata has over 100,000 verses that it takes time for readers to understand them. Sacred books were also in the poetic form called mantras that are recited during worship. All this forms the characteristics of Indian literature. The other and the last is the other literature, where there are no writings except this Indian literature. There were other writings before 1947 but were not recognized as Indian literature as they were written in other language and not Sanskrit. So these writings were added to the literature of the language in which it was written as Tamil Sangam. Telugu literature, Bengali literature, etc., which were sacred and patriotic texts during independence struggle. Later involved Indian literature in English after Sanskrit English is the common language. Writings in English and writings translated into English with its own characteristics forms Indian literature in English.
What is drama? Drama is the specific mode of fiction represented in performance. The term comes from a Greek word meaning action, which is derived from to do or to act. The enactment of drama in theater, performed by actors on a stage before an audience, presupposes collaborative modes of production and collective form of perception. The two masks associated with drama represent the traditional generic division between comedy and tragedy. They are symbols of the ancient Greek muses, Thalia and Melpomene. Forms of drama. Opera is a dramatic art form which arose during the Renaissance in an attempt to revive the classical Greek drama. Pantomime, these stories follow in the tradition of fables and folktales. Creative drama includes dramatic activities. Conversions, closely examined, will be found to fall into classes, changes of volition, and changes of sentiment. Drama is regarded as the highest achievement of Sanskrit literature. It utilized stock characters such as hero, heroine, and clown. Elements of drama: character is one of the persons who appears in the play. Plot: the interest generated by the plot varies for different kinds of plays. Theme: soul of the plot. Dialogue provides the substance of the play. Indian drama is characterized by poetry and idyllic poetry. It concentrates on love as the background of the story. It always has a happy ending. There are no violent emotions. History of Indian drama: the earliest form of Indian drama was the Sanskrit drama. It emerged sometime between the 2nd century BCE and the 1st century CE. Modern Indian drama: Rabindranath Tagore was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 and is probably India's best known modern playwright. Two great Indian dramatists, which is Basa, the first name in Indian drama, and Kalidasa, who is called the Indian Shakespeare. Panchantantra, Five Headings, is a rich collection of brief stories of ancient times. This book is said to contain the first fables ever written. Fables are stories of animals who behave like human beings. The purpose of fables is to drive home a truth or a lesson. Modern Urdu drama of India. Urdu drama evolved from the prevailing dramatic traditions of North India, shaping rahas or raas as practiced by exponents. Urdu theater tradition has greatly influenced modern India theater. All the early gems of Urdu theater were made into films. Treatise addresses acting, dance, music, dramatic construction, costuming, makeup, props, organization of companies, audience, competitions, offers mythological account of the origin of theater. Dramatic subgenres. Comedy is a type of drama intended to interest and amuse the audience rather than to make them deeply concerned about events that happen. Tragedy is a type of drama that shows the downfall and destruction of a noble. Some types of comedy are farce, satire, romantic comedy, parody, and dark comedy. Convention, the means the playwright employs are determined. Genre is a term that describes work of literature. Audience, it is the accurate chance of hearing. Stagecraft, the stage creates its effects in spite of and in part of because of definite physical limitations. Designs are theater space, the proscenium theater, the truss stage, the arena stage, variant forms, the fixed architectural stage, auditoriums, set design, costume design, mask, makeup, and technical production.
Long ago, in a kingdom near Ujjain in India, a king had a beautiful princess. Her name was Vidyotama. From a very young age, she displayed extraordinary talent and intelligence. Her parents therefore appointed a teacher, Guru Vararuchi, to train her well. As she was growing up, Vidyotama continued to demonstrate her exceptional talent as she mastered in literature, arts, and debates. She defeated many wise scholars from various fields. The princess, however, had a problem: arrogance. Vidyotama was very proud of her knowledge and learnings that she would insult senior and wise men in the court. One day she even defeated her teacher, Guru Vararuchi, in a debate. Her arrogance went too far as she insulted him as well. Due to the lack of respect Vidyotama showed to Guru Vararuchi, he, along with other scholars, wanted to teach her a lesson. by cheating her to marrying someone stupid. But Vidyotama and her parents announced in the kingdom that her marriage would be with a person who would defeat her in a debate. One day when the court scholars led by Guru Vararuchi were walking by, they saw a handsome looking man cutting the branch of a tree he was sitting on. They confirmed him to be stupid. They called the man and asked him to go with them to the palace and promised him a good meal. His name was Kalidasa. They trained him not to utter a single word in the palace court. They dressed him up very well and informed the princess that Kalidasa was a great scholar and is seeking her hand in marriage. But he could not talk since he is on Maunavratam and observing silence that day. But the debate has to go on, the princess insisted. All the wise men and scholars along with Kalidasa and Vidyotama gathered in the court in the presence of the king. The debate began. Vidyotama started. She raised her index finger, indicating there is only one supreme God. Kalidasa assumed that princess is indicating to poke his one eye. In response, he showed two of his fingers indicating he would poke both her eyes. But here a scholar intervened. He explained to Vidyotama that Kalidasa is responding to her actual question by saying there are two supreme powers. One, the God himself, and the other, the individual soul. Vidyotama was impressed. Then Vidyotama showed her palm, indicating the five senses. Kalidasa again assumed the princess was indicating to slap him, so he showed her a folded fist, indicating he would punch her if she slapped him. Quickly the scholar intervened again and explained to Vidyotama that Kalidasa was indicating control over the five senses. Vidyotama was impressed with Kalidasa's intellect and married him. But within a few days she realized that her husband was not only illiterate but also very foolish. Angered by this, Vidyotama drew him out of the palace. Saddened by this, Kalidasa, who was a great devotee of goddess Kali, went to a Kali temple and prayed. With her blessings, he left in search of knowledge. He studied under renowned scholars and teachers for several years. He mastered literature and wrote many epics, greatest plays and drama. Kalidasa became the greatest poet and dramatist India has ever seen.
Okay, so let us now proceed with the next topic, which is the Indian poets. So let us go first with Bhartrihari. Bhartrihari is maybe considered as one of the most original philosophers of language and religion in ancient India. He is also popularly known as grammarian. However, his works have great philosophical significance, especially to the connections between grammar, logic, semantics, and ontology. In addition to this, he also wrote in the sacred Hindu language called Sanskrit, and is believed to have produced at least two important pieces of work which became extremely influential. Lastly, his poetry has survived the considerable passage of time and is still studied today by students of Sanskrit. Okay, so let us now go with the second poet, who is Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was born of Indian noble family. He received his education under private tutors and then went to England to study law. He was a widely traveled man. He visited Europe and Japan and went to United States giving lectures and reading of the poems. He was also a great Indian poet, dramatist, and considered the greatest writer in modern Indian literature. His book of poems, Gitanjali, was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 and was knighted by the British government in 1915. And last, he was a precocious child who at age of 8 began writing poems. At 12, he wrote drama, and at 13, he did a translation of Macbeth into Bengali. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I will be discussing about the poem The Tame Bird and the Free Bird by Rabindranath Tagore. About the author. Rabindranath Tagore is a British Indian Bengali poet, writer, composer, philosopher, social reformer, and painter. Tagore reshaped Bengali literature and music, as well as Indian art, with contextual modernism in the late 19th and early 20th century. I will be reading the poem to you. The Tame Bird and the Free Bird. The tame bird was in a cage. The free bird was in the forest. They met when the time came. It was a decree of fate. The free bird cries, "Oh, my love, let us fly to the wood." The caged bird whispers, "Come hither, let us both live in the cage," says the free bird. "Among bars, where is there room to spread one's wings?" "Alas," cried the caged bird, "I should not know where to sit perched in the sky." The free bird cries, "My darling, sing the songs of the woodland." The caged bird sings, "Sit by my side, I'll teach you the speech of the learned." The forest bird cries, "No, ah no, songs can never be taught." The caged bird says, "Alas for me, I know not the songs of the woodlands." Their love is intense with longing, but they never can fly wing to wing. Through the bars of the cage they look, and vain is their wish to know each other. They flutter their wings in yearning, and sing, "Come closer, my love." The free bird cries, "It cannot be. I feared the closed doors of the cage. The cage bird whispers, "Alas, my wings are powerless and dead." The characters in the poem are the tame bird, the one who is in the cage, the free bird, the one who has been living in the forest. Plot and summary of the poem. In the poem by Rabindranath Tagore, there are two birds, one in a cage and one is free. The cage bird is trying to get the free bird to join him in the cage, while the free bird wants the cage bird to come to the forest and be free. The birds go back and forth with positive elements in trying to convince each other to come to their side. The free bird says, "My darling, sing the songs of the woodland." To which the cage bird answers, "Sit by my side, I'll teach you the speech of the Lord." They also entreat negative elements in trying to convince each other that they are on the better side. Here, the free bird questions the cage bird in his home, among bars, where there's no room to spread one's wings. The cage bird says in return, "I should not know where to sit perched in the sky." The end of the poem illustrates that the free bird has the better situation. You could argue that the cage bird is just looking for company in trying to get the free bird to join him. The final line of the poem illustrates this very powerfully. He whispers to his friend, "Alas, my wings are powerless in death." The poem of Rabindranath Tagore is all about the love of the two birds that can't be together because the free bird didn't want to be stuck in the cage, and on the other hand, the cage bird's wings is powerless and dead. The poem discusses challenges of a relationship where the individuals have to step outside each other's comfort zone. The setting of the relationship evolves around the argument which home or place is much better. In the end, one of the birds has to sacrifice in hopes of sharing the love into each other. Either the cage bird risks to go outside the cage, or the free bird must take the risk of being captivated to live in the cage. The symbolisms of the poem. The free bird is the man, while the cage bird is the woman. The cage in the poem symbolizes the parents of the women. It means the cage bird can't go out because her parents is so strict on her. My reflection is this: in order to find happiness, you must have a courage to sacrifice your comfort zone and step in others' life. Never be afraid to try something new. When you didn't try it, you'll never know how it feels and what consequences it gives. Stop thinking just about yourself and your welfare. Someday you'll know the worth of someone or something when they were gone and you cannot do anything about it. To the society. The society is full of challenges. Might be bad or good. Do not be the cage bird who just lock up itself away from other and being just the shadow of others. Be the free bird. Thrilling challenges awaits you, and those challenges is making you much stronger to face everything.
Good day, linguist enthusiasts. Today, we will discuss the Indian literature. Many of you know already some facts and information about Indian literature. So now, we will proceed to one of the most famous Indian poets and we will witness one of his works. He is Rabindranath Tagore, born on 1861 and died in 1941. Rabindranath Tagore. He was the first Indian, the first non-European to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. The award was kept in the safety vault of Visva Bharati University, where it was robbed in 2004. Since then, the Swedish Academy has presented 2 replicas of the prize to the Visva Bharati University. In 2004, Tagore's Nobel Prize medal was stolen in a theft at Shantiniketan. The Swedish Academy gave him the award again in the form of 2 replicas, a gold and a silver. At the age of 60, Tagore took up drawing and painting, and many of his works were successfully exhibited throughout Europe. His strange color schemes and offbeat aesthetics made people realize that he was red-green colorblind. Tagore was once invited by Albert Einstein at his home. The two talked about religion and science, and their chat has been documented in the note on the nature of reality. Tagore wrote novels, short stories, poems, essays, verses, dramas, songs, and a lot of other stuff. He is believed to have worked on almost all kinds of genres. Tagore wrote novels, short stories, poems, essays, verses, dramas, songs, and a lot of other stuffs. He is believed to have worked on almost all kinds of genre. Rabindranath Tagore was the son of Debendranath Tagore, the person who played a great role in influencing the Bengali Renaissance. Likewise, Rabindranath Tagore played a crucial role in discovering Bengali art, literature, music, and theater. Rabindranath Tagore is also credited with calling Gandhiji Mahatma for the first time. He was truly a person with an exceptional brain. According to the legend, even on his deathbed, he was worried about the poems in his mind which he couldn't write. So now, we will proceed to one of his famous work entitled Into That Heaven of Freedom, possibly created in the year 1900s. The poem goes this way. Where the mind is without fear and the head held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arm toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. This was the message of the poem. In the poem, the poet Rabindranath Tagore expresses his vision for a utopian India. The poet wishes that he wants his countrymen to be free of fear and hold their head high with self-esteem and humble pride. He wishes his country to be united and free of the narrow domestic strife, clashes, backwardness, and divisions. Theme of the poem. Through the poem, Tagore deals with real meaning of freedom and true values of heaven. He talks on heavenly freedom. Heaven is possible anywhere, even also on the earth. Freedom of thoughts, ideas, mind, rules, and dogmas transfer earth into heaven. These are some facts about Rabindranath Tagore. It was originally composed in Bengali, possibly in 1900s, under the title Prarthana, meaning prayer. This was with the Into That Prayer of Heaven. It appeared in the volume called Naibedya in 1901. Later, in 1911, Tagore himself translated the Bengali poem into English, and that translation appeared as poem 35 in his Nobel-winning anthology Gitanjali, or Song Offerings, published by the Indian Society, London in 1912. So when the poem was written, India was under the British rule and people were eagerly waiting to get their freedom. From the British rule, the poem is written in the form of a prayer to the God, the Almighty, for true freedom for his country, and thus Tagore reveals his own concept of freedom throughout the poem. That's all, and thank you. Have a good day.
Good day, everyone. So let's continue to study the Indian literature. And today, we're gonna talk about the epic story, the Ramayana. Sage Valmiki, the original author of the ancient Sanskrit epic, the Ramayana. He wrote the epic on the Valmiki Ashram temple. So for our interesting question, is Ramayana's story true? While there have been voices proclaiming the authenticity of the Ramayana, research to prove it has increased in recent times. Dr. Vadlamudi Raghavendra Rao, a professor of anthropology, University of Delhi, and one of the authors of the study, said, "Definitely, the events described in Ramayana occurred in real." So let me use the PowerPoint by Miss Arkisola, as it contains images or pictures that can help us understand more about the story of Ramayana. So let's continue. So for the plot, this is the summary of the story. Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Ayodhya lived a king. His name was Dasharatha. He was a great and happy king. The king had 4 sons. Rama is the eldest and favorite son of the king. His mother is Kaushalya. Bharata is the son of his second and favorite wife, Queen Kaikeyi. Rama and Bharata are blue, perhaps indicating they were dark-skinned or originally South Indian deities. A sage takes the boys out to train them in archery. Rama has hid an apple hanging from a string. In a neighboring city, the ruler's daughter is named Sita. When it was time for Sita to choose her bridegroom at a ceremony called Swayamvara, the princes were asked to string a giant bow. No one else can even lift the bow, but as Rama bends it, he not only strings it but breaks it in two. Sita indicates she has chosen Rama as her husband by putting a garland around his neck. The disappointed suitors watch. King Dasharatha, Rama's father, decides it is time to give his throne to his eldest son Rama and retire to the forest to seek moksha. Everyone seems pleased. This plan fulfills the rules of Dharma because an eldest son should rule, and if a son can take over one's responsibilities, one's last years may be spent in a search for moksha. In addition, everyone loves Rama. However, Rama's stepmother, the king's second wife, is not pleased. She wants her son, Bharata, to rule. Because of an oath Dasharatha had made to her years before, she gets the king to agree to banish Rama for 14 years and to crown Bharata, even though the king, on bended knee, begs her not to demand such things. Broken-hearted, the devastated king cannot face Rama with the news, and Kaikeyi must tell him. Rama, as always obedient, is as content to go into banishment in the forest as to be crowned king. Sita convinces Rama that she belongs at his side, and his brother Lakshman also begs to accompany them. Rama, Sita, and Lakshman set out for the forest. Bharata, whose mother's evil plot has won him the throne, is very upset when he finds out what has happened. Not for a moment does he consider breaking the rules of Dharma and becoming king in Rama's place. He goes to Rama's forest, retreat, and begs Rama to return and rule. But Rama refuses. "We must obey father," Rama says. Bharata then takes Rama's sandals, saying, I will put this on the throne, and every day I shall place the fruits of my work at the feet of my Lord. Embracing Rama, he takes the sandals and returns to Ayodhya. Years pass and Rama, Sita and Lakshman are very happy in the forest. Rama and Lakshman destroy the Rakshasas, or the evil creatures, who disturb the sages in their meditations. One day, a Rakshasa princess tried to seduce Rama, and Lakshmana wounds her and drives her away. She returns to her brother Ravana, the ten-headed ruler of Lanka, Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, and tells her brother, who has a weakness for beautiful women, about lovely Sita. Ravana devises a plan to abduct Sita. He sends a magical golden deer which Sita desires. Rama and Lakshman go off to hunt the deer, first drawing a protective circle around Sita and warning her she will be safe as long as she does not step outside the circle. As they go off, Ravana, who can change his shape, appears as a holy man begging alms. The moment Sita steps outside the circle to give him food, Ravana grabs her and carries her off to the kingdom in Lanka. Rama is broken-hearted when he returns to the empty hut and cannot find Sita. A band of monkeys offer to help him find Sita. Ravana has carried Sita to his palace in Lanka, but he cannot force her to be his wife, so he puts her in a grove and alternately sweet-talks her and threatens her in an attempt to get her to agree to marry him. Sita will not even look at him, but thinks only of her beloved Rama. Hanuman, the general of the monkey band, can fly since his father is the wind, and Hanuman flies to Lanka and, finding Sita in the grove, comforts her and tells her Rama will soon come and save her. Rama, the Lakshman, and the monkey army build a causeway from the tip of India to Lanka and cross over to Lanka. A might battle ensues. Rama kills several of Ravana's brothers, and then Rama confronts ten-headed Ravana. Ravana is known for his wisdom as well as for his weaknesses for women, which may explain why he is pictured as very brainy. Rama finally kills Ravana. Rama frees Sita. After Sita proves her purity, they return to Ayodhya and Rama becomes king. His rule, Ramraya, is an ideal time when everyone does his or her dharma and fathers never have to light the funeral pyres for their sons. So for the characters, we have Dasaratha, the king of Ayodhya, the capital of Kosala, whose eldest son was Rama. Dasaratha had 3 wives and 4 sons, Rama, Bharata, and the twins Lakshmana and Satruna. Rama, Dasaratha's firstborn son and the upholder of Dharma, correct conduct, and duty. Rama, along with his wife Sita, have served as role models for thousands of generations in India and elsewhere. Rama is regarded by many Hindus as an incarnation of God Vishnu and by the Southeast Asian Buddhists as an incarnation of the Buddha. Sita, Rama's wife, the adopted daughter of King Janak. Sita was found in the furrows of a sacred field and was regarded by the people of Janak's kingdom as a blessed child. Bharata, Rama's brother by Queen Kaikeyi. When Bharata learned of his mother's scheme to banish Rama and place him on the throne, he put Rama's sandals on the throne and ruled Ayodhya in his name. Hanuman, a leader of the monkey tribe, allied with Rama against Ravana. Hanuman was many magical powers because his father was the god of the wind. Hanuman's devotion to Rama and his supernatural feats in the battle to recapture Sita has made him one of the most popular characters in the Ramayana. Ravana, the ten-headed king of Lanka who abducted Sita. Kaushalya, Dasaratha's first wife and the mother of Rama. Lakshmana, Rama's younger brother by Dasaratha's third wife Sumitra. When Rama and Sita were exiled to the forest, Lakshmana followed in order to serve. So for the values or the morals, the importance of one man being wedded to only one wife. During the Ramayana period, polygamy was quite prevalent and it was quite an acceptable social norm for kings to marry many women. Rama's own father, Dasaratha, was wedded to 3 wives or queens, and he had innumerable concubines at his palace. In a stark contrast to his father, Rama remained wedded and staunchly loyal to his only wife, Sita. With this qualification, he held his head high as the greatest king ever ruled in Bharat or India. He set, he set example for future generation of men as to what constitutes a sterling quality for the respectability of a man in society. Respecting father's word of honor. Just on the previous night to Rama's crowning ceremony, Kaikeyi made use of her boons not only to deny Rama his rightful ascent to the kingdom, but also to send him in exile to the forest. Rama, as Kshatriya, a person belonging to a ruler or warrior class, had every right to question such an injustice meted out to him, and he was not really duty bound to honor this father's unjust promises. But true to his greatness, Rama, with utter detachment and without even a trace of disappointment reflecting on his face, conceded to both the demands. For him, Pitruvakya Paripalanam, or honoring his father's word, was one of the highest dharmas. Relationship between dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Human life is consumed in chasing materialism, or the artha, and sense pleasures, the kama. Ramayana makes it clear that these two pursuits should never be at the cost of dharma, or the righteousness. In withholding dharma, both artha and kama can be and must be sacrificed. The ultimate goal of life is moksha, or the liberation. It can be attained only by relinquishing artha and kama and by strictly following a life of dharma. So that would be all for the story of the Ramayana.